Hello girls and gals and non-binary pals. Before we get started on today's video, let's address the language elephant in the room. I'm speaking in English. Why? Because this is my channel and I can do whatever I want with it. No, but in all seriousness, I actually don't have a particular reason for making this in English. I just watched a video that was in English and it made me want to make a response, and since it was in English, I said, yeah, let's go ahead and do this in English. Let me tell you how this idea came to be. I was watching a video by Dominic Noble, who is a great YouTuber that you should all check out, and he was doing an analysis of Breaking Dawn. As a twihard, his opinions got me feeling some sort of way. But to be perfectly honest, I don't think that his criticisms were invalid or wrong. It's just that it was things that I had not been thinking about since a couple of years ago. But now that I'm older, the whole Renesmee, Jacob, and Imprinting thing does make me very uncomfortable. So in the spirit of reanalyzing that dynamic, I propose something different. A make-believe new book in which we can go ahead and fix the whole imprinting problem. And by problem, I mean the fact that imprinting is basically grooming. So grab a drink, grab a snack, and let's get on with the video. So for those of you who are not obsessed with Twilight like I am, or simply don't remember, let me go ahead and give you a refresher of what on earth is imprinting. We're first introduced to it in Eclipse, when Bella is asking Jacob about the pack's latest gossip, when Jacob gets quite uncomfortable when he has to tell Bella that one of his buddies, Quill, has just imprinted on a 2-year-old girl. Yikes. Now let me stop you right there. I know what you're thinking, but this is not a 16-year-old falling romantically for a child, according to the book and according to the author.
Imprinting is a bond that's formed between someone who's a werewolf and someone of the opposite sex, but that bond is absolute, and the wolf in question cannot live if something happens to the other person. And he's also bound by that person's wishes to a degree that's not normal or human. He's incapable of harming her, hurting her feelings, even the smallest thing he cannot do. He can't be angry with her. His only purpose at that point then becomes to keep that person safe and happy by whatever means possible.
The only thing that this information does is just not make things as bad. But it is implied on the book that once the imprintee grows up, they're fully expected to enter a romantic relationship with these men that fall for them.
So should I start calling you Dad?
How is it that I found nothing wrong with that when I was younger? This is not a critique video. But with that said, I guess we all understand what's the problem with Renesmee's probable future, given the fact that Jacob is imprinted on her. But before we go ahead and fix all this mess, let's go ahead and check where we left everyone as of the last book. So at the end of Breaking Dawn, a bunch of things happened, but for the purposes of this video, we're only going to focus on a few facts. There's 2 packs on the push. One is led by Jacob and the other by Sam. There is another hybrid vampire that lives in the Amazon, and that's basically all we need to know. So with that said, let's jump into full creative. We are 16 years into the future. The Cullens have been sparkly and happy in all of their joy for all of these years. Renesmee is a full-grown adult since about 9 years and a half, and she's constantly traveling to the Amazon to be able to talk more to her hybrid counterpart, I guess we could call him, to be able to know more about herself and her identity as a hybrid and that kind of interesting thing. At this point, Jacob is kind of concerned that he has had no romantic feelings towards Renesmee and that she also doesn't seem to have any interest. But he's trying not to think a lot about that because he fears that that would mean something's wrong with him. So in one of those travels over to the Amazon, Edward, Bella, and Renesmee are gone, and Quill comes to Jacob to explain to him that his imprintee, Claire, has come back to town and that they were chatting up together and, catching up. Within all this information, Claire actually turns out to tell Quill that she is a lesbian. And though Quill fully supports her, because remember,
his only purpose at that point then becomes to keep that person safe and happy by whatever means possible.
Sam has figured out this information that they don't intend to actually be a romantic couple, and he's not very okay with that. But more than anything, Quill is super confused because he has spent years looking after this child and being told by everyone around him that at some point when she would come of age, he's gonna end up with Claire. And now that the whole imprinting thing has come into question, he actually realizes that he has no romantic feelings for her. Cause you know, he practically raised the girl, and that would be weird. So when they're having this conversation, Quill and Jacob, something goes off in his brain and he's like, oh my god, we don't have to have romantic feelings for our imprintees. So that makes him go ahead and have a profound examination of his own feelings towards Renesmee, and he ends up realizing that he does love her, but more than anything like a daughter or like a sister. But he had not noticed this because he had been conditioned his whole life to expect that when she grew up, they were going to be some sort of wolfy soulmate power couple or something. And they're all surprised that imprinting is just a weird magical bond with no apparent purpose, and not an inescapable romantic trap to a total stranger. With this revelation, Leah gets rightfully angry because it turns out that Sam is more of a dick than we thought, because he had a choice when he imprinted on Emily, and nonetheless he decided to fuck Leah over and get with her cousin just because of this strange notion that he was supposed to marry her and have very strong wolfy thing creatures. Which at this point, since it's been 16 years, they actually do have plenty of those. So now we have two options here. We can have a general tension all throughout the plot because Sam and his pack are not really a fan of being told that their relationships are meaningless or based on nothing but weird wolf magic that actually does not have a point in existing. You know, more dramatic kind of things like relationships falling apart, families not talking to each other, internal conflict, all that sort of fun stuff. Or Sam's pack can use this as a justification to be able to attack Jacob's pack, because they don't like that there's actually two alphas, that the other pack is full of vampire sympathizers, and the fact that things are so different than how they used to be. Imprinting is not even what they thought they was, but then again, within the narrative, this is just going to be an excuse to be able to attack Jacob because Sam is starting to see him as a threat. But that will be more of the background of the story. At the forefront, we will have Jacob realizing and coping with his new own freedom and his new ownership of himself. And who else to help him that his friend of many years, Bella, who has just returned from the Amazon and is ready to lend a comprehensive ear, you know, as friends do. And they reminisce about their youth and their years spent together and how weird and angsty they were, and how at this point they're basically more family than anything. And that ends up on them agreeing that Jacob should probably talk to Renesmee and clear some things up. Which ends up happening in a very nice, friendly, and lovable conversation where Renesmee actually tells Jacob that she finds the idea of them being together kind of disgusting given the fact that they're more like relatives, or that he's more of her annoying older brother or something of the sort. Because, you know, our girl is smart, and she ends up encouraging him to really think about what he wants for his future. If he wants to be with someone, that he should probably look for that. And here again, we have two options. Now, personally, I'm going to go with the queer route because Leah was done dirty, and I refuse to make her Jacob's second or rebound thing. But if the hetero life it's more your style, then turns out that they actually had feelings for each other all along this time, but they never acted on them because, you know, Jacob was imprinted, so there was no point, and he didn't even realize that he had feelings for Leah because he thought imprinting was gonna overcome all of that, so he'd rather not. But I'm not about the hetero lifestyle! So Jacob meets a girl of his age and falls in love. Leah is a bisexual queen who ends up getting together with a human lesbian girl. Quill is actually gay and just starting a relationship with Seth, who is also gay. And boom, everyone's happy forever and in a committed relationship because this is Twilight and we will have no single people being happy here. Except maybe Billy Black. I don't think people need a reason to be queer within a narrative, but I will explain a little bit of my reasoning for the choices that I made. Claire is a lesbian, so that there's no room for Quill's romantic advances, even if he wanted to make them. Though I believe it could have been just as easy as her not being interested in him, but I decided to save myself the trouble and just, no, she doesn't like men at all. Leah is bi because, you know, Sam exists. but I wanted her to have a lesbian girlfriend so that they would be able to relate on this point of not being woman enough because you can't produce offspring with your desired partner, and that together that they could heal from that. They're totally super in love with each other and adopt a girl and live happily forever. Quill and Seth are gay purely because of the fact that I want a queer relationship within supernatural creatures that will be healthy and happy, and I just needed, oh my gosh. Besides analyzing the problematic nature of imprinting and indulging myself in adding queer characters in a work that I love, I wanted to explore the groundwork put by the author and rearrange it in a way that would conflict less with my values. Because even though I love Twilight to death up to this day, there's a couple themes that run throughout it that make me very uncomfortable. The lack of diversity, the constant push for everyone to be in a heterosexual, monogamous, committed relationship, and the implication that a woman's value comes mostly from her capacity to have children. Even though I find these things truly upsetting, I don't really think that Stephenie Meyer is like evil or anything. Though I do question what the fuck was she thinking with the whole imprinting deal. But I am willing to give her the benefit of the doubt. So this is my way of adding to a work that I deeply love and to challenge the heteronormativity of it all. I'm not saying that being heterosexual is wrong. It's just that when it's the only thing available when you're reading as you're growing up, it makes you sad that you see no characters that are actually like you. And if you see no one like you in a work that you love, perhaps in this world filled with vampires and werewolves, you are the freak. Stephenie already said that she's planning 2 new books within the Twilight universe. Hopefully she will watch my video and make everyone queer. Or maybe Jacob and Renesmee will just be entangled on a love triangle and end up getting together, having weird, lovely, mutant werewolf vampire pups, and live happily ever after. But I guess we'll have to see. Thank you very much for watching my video. I hope you have an awesome day wherever you are. And remember to stay on BTS.